Hello and welcome, Inspired Podcast community. This is your new episode. My name is Caroline, and my today's guest is Jackie. And I have to ask you how you pronounce your last name, please.
Yes, it's Dighans.
Again, so it's not so complicated as I thought. I'm in Germany right now. English is not my mother language, so I apologize. Jackie Dighans, welcome, and how are you doing today?
I'm doing great and so glad to be here. Thank you.
Thank you for saying yes or no. And of course, I would like to introduce you to the audience. You are a daughter of God Most High. You are a wife of 30 years to an amazing entrepreneurial husband and a mother of 10. After homeschooling for nearly 20 years, I apologize, my phone is not you transitioned 7 of her children to public school, earned a certificate in biblical studies, and became a covenant life coach. You love helping leaders overcome limiting beliefs and has authored several books, including Covered, and its study guide, as well as the devotional What If You Believed? 31 Beliefs to Act On from the Living Word to Bring About Life Change. Welcome to the Inspired Podcast, Jackie Dighans.
Thank
I'm
you.
so happy that you are here, and I have a question for you, of course. What inspired you to transition from homeschooling your children for nearly 20 years to becoming a covenant life coach? And how has your experience as a mother of 10 influenced your coaching approach?
Okay, thank you. Yeah, it really was God leading me. I mean, it wasn't like I had this dream of coaching. I didn't even know what coaching was when I stepped into it or when it was brought to me. But it was just the steps with God. First, I knew that I was supposed to put my kids in school. We had shut down a family business uh, during that time, which we had always had the kids involved in. And it seemed like about that time when that shut down, then it was time to transition the schooling as well. And so we did that. My husband went through kind of a breakdown depression season during that time after we shut that business down because it was a dream of his, and then when that ended, it was difficult to transition for him as well. But as I put the kids in school, I knew I was supposed to do Bible school at that time as well. So I stepped into that, and Bible school ended at in March of 2020, right as COVID hit. And so I was asking the Lord, okay, what do you want me to do now? Well, all of my kids came home and I was homeschooling again, right? And so I was like, okay, I guess I'm doing this for now. Then one of my daughters showed me something on social media about coaching. And I was like, oh, I've never heard of that. And I looked into it and realized that I needed to step toward that. And as I did, I also then backed up going, I don't have the money for this training, but realized it wasn't about the money, it was about obeying. And God made a way for me to do it. And then that venture started. My husband had been out of town, working out of town more than he was home for a year and a half in that time when I was doing Bible school and stuff. And he ended up coming home that summer. So I was able to take the training, and we just continued on, with just obedience to God. And so I'm very thankful for that opportunity. And there was one more question you asked in there. What was that second one?
Yeah. I have to find it. Thank you so much for sharing. First of all, about what inspired you, and then we have how has your experience as a mother of 10 influenced your coaching approach?
Oh, yeah. I believe that was a lot of my training, just having that many children in the home, and going through all the different transitions and all the needs daily in a home. Plus we had a family business for years that we would work with and our children. And so God really taught me to let go of the control I thought I had and letting go of my own agenda and following him and doing even my daily chores and with my children his way rather than my own. And really learning to live from a place of rest. Otherwise, I don't think I would be here today because there's so much going on in anyone's life, but also with that many children daily. And I had a baby every other year, basically, was the time frame. So I didn't get a lot of sleep during that 20 years of having children. And um, I just, God, I'm so thankful for his faithfulness to help me through and teach me how to just rest in him because in daily life there wasn't time to rest specifically, So I'm thankful for how he taught me to rest in him. He is our rest. He tells us to come to him, right? So
Yes,
yeah.
absolutely. And I had to write down things you said, because it was so valuable about faithfulness and to follow him. And now you talked about resting and what is it? I had a tendency to ask about the Sunday. Sunday is the day we rest, and then you had this calling to, first of all, it was homeschooling. It was you couldn't choose because it was COVID, you said. I think it was COVID. And then you had the calling to become a coach, and it's so beautiful that it all fit together, and that you
Mm.
can also, your coaching approach, you said you learned so much by being a mother through this, and this is a calling as well. This is your purpose. So thank you so much for sharing. I'm so fulfilled now with words and thoughts, and I'm inspired already. So thank you so much. But of course, I have
Oh,
another question for you, and it is,
yeah.
in your work as a covenant life coach, how do you help leaders overcome their limiting beliefs? And can you share a specific technique or strategy that has been particularly effective?
Yes, for sure. One thing that I help them with is, we all go through trials. And there's one trial after another, whether it's losing our keys, as simple as that, to losing a loved one. There's so many variations of trials, and so often we want to just wish them away. We just wallow in them and go, I don't want to go through this again, or, whatever it is. And it's not to downplay them. It's not like we don't have to like them. We don't have to, you know, think anything like that about them, except for just that God actually is using them to grow and mature us. If we are willing, like it says in James 1:2-4, consider it pure joy, my brothers, whenever you face trials of many kinds. Well, that's us. We're supposed to consider it joy. And you think, how could I when my husband's having a breakdown? And I was even diagnosed at one point with on the verge of grand mal seizure, and then I lost a sister when we both had 3 kids. There's so many different trials, both big and smaller, right? But what if we choose to grow through them rather than wallowing in them and just wishing them away? And so the word then says, let it produce patience. Or even I like to go further to be like, what if we let it produce all of the fruits of the Spirit in us? Rather than the negative ones like resentment and anger and bitterness, because then it says it will make us mature and complete, lacking nothing. And so that's a big strategy and a way that I work with them on just looking at their trials differently so that they can get curious with them and ask God, what are you doing here? And what do you want me to learn? And grow closer to Him through them.
Wow, I love what you shared. There was so many nuggets in it, especially the word trial, of course. And I had an encounter. I'm studying Think and Grow Rich, and you also mentioned the word to grow rich, to grow in God, let's say. And there's a typo, There's the word trial, and what it means is the word trail, and you see the trail in my background, and I think trials are trails as well. We can
Oh,
travel. And yeah, and I was reading it because I'm reading one page per day, so I repeat this page, and I was reading this typo because it's not my mother language, so I would not recognize, and also when you have this orthography, this correction program, it is not recognized because the words are correct in itself, but the meaning, the context was not. And I thought by myself, maybe there should be the word trail instead. And now you mentioned about trial, and trial is so we get tested. Sometimes we say universe. People who don't use the word, or who don't believe in God, they use the word universe. Of course, universe is created by God. We know this, and then they say universe is testing us. But I think there are no tests. It's all a real condition, and the question is how we answer to that, like taking responsibility. And you talked about resting in God. It is so beautiful. So let's go to the next question and see what we have. Your book covered and its study guide, as well as your devotional What If You Believed, 31 Beliefs to Act On, focus on bringing about life change through the living word. What motivated you to write these works, and what impact do you hope they have on your readers?
oh, thank you. Yeah, I was just by God. He said, write your book, because after I became a coach, there was several things happening in our lives, and I was like, okay, God, what do you want me to do? I still had 7 kids in the home, and He said, write your books. So that was the next step after getting certification, that I started writing the book. And I didn't realize, I guess He showed me I had a book in me. I didn't really know that. Like, I hadn't written things down. But as I worked with a coach one day, she said, what's on your heart? And I said, I think I have a book. And right there, I knew the chapter titles and the title of the book. And then I had to put it down for a few months because we were just walking through some difficult times, and I couldn't write then. But when I did pick it up, I wrote 9 chapters in 1 month. So it was definitely the message was in me. And I looked at it as there were events in my life that happened that God had a message with, that He showed me how to work through them, or, whatever. And so I just wrote that way. It was like He showed me the events, and this is what I taught you. And so my prayer is that the readers are transformed, that they learn to believe the word of God over their circumstances, really standing on the word. Because, so often we say that, yes, I'm a believer, but our life doesn't look any different than the world. And so I like to Just say, hey, what if you actually believed this? And that's the devotional as well. What if you believed? What if you actually started walking in this and believing and obeying it over what you're seeing in your life? That's what brings about the life change.
I totally understand and I agree. It feels like alignment when there's this Bible verse that says, "Thy will be mine," or something like that. And when you are in that, I have to translate. I have the Bible verses in German, of course, and every time I translate, and it feels weird. But there's something about God's will for us, and this is so beautiful when we surrender to that, then we feel this alignment and our life is easy. Let's say, let's say I know the feeling I cannot describe, but thank you so
Yeah.
much for sharing. It's so
Um,
beautiful. Okay, I
yeah.
have another question, and I think it is our last one. Having earned a certificate in biblical studies, how do you integrate your faith and biblical principles into your coaching practice, particularly when guiding leaders and individuals through personal and spiritual growth?
Mhm. Yeah, well, the word is the basis of it. I see it as the basis. I use other tools to help guide through and help them be set free, but really, the word is what sets us free, the belief of the word and the spirit of God. And so that I just use, I'm like, but the word says that, like just bringing the word in on a practical level, helping them see how they can apply it and gain that wisdom, because that's what wisdom is. Like through Bible school, we learn the knowledge of the word. Through the coaching that I do, it's like bringing the wisdom of the word, the application, because so many of us have known the scriptures for years, but we haven't specifically applied them. So that's really the basis of what I do. And I say, if church services and Bible studies and friendships are enough for you, you don't need my coaching. But I'm for the people, just like those that enter Bible school, I'm for those that are like, I'm serious about life change right now. I don't want to live this way anymore, one foot in the world, one foot with God. I want to be all in and really dive deep into how I can walk on another level with God.
Wow, that is amazing. Thank you so much for sharing. I understand. So we learn the word and we learn it from let's say, from the conscious perspective. And when you do the coaching, you help people to implement it, to live it, and to understand it from their heart, I would say, from the subconscious, how to live it without thinking about it, because we have the tendency to overthink, of course, also. So when people want to work with you now after listening to this episode, how can they reach out? Do you have special offers or services?
Yes, I do both one-on-one and group coaching. And I have a website. It's called livingcoveredbyhim.com. So it's livingcoveredbyhim.com. And I'm also found on Facebook. They could message me from that, just under Jackie Dighans. And so, yeah, I'm just thankful to be able to serve and help the Christian leaders, especially those that want to go deeper with God, want their lives changed for good, just like shifted around. I'm not living this way anymore. I want to lay down my old self and put on the new. That is my heart and what God is leading me to do in this time.
Oh, that sounds amazing. Thank you so much for sharing. This is the Inspired podcast. I call it Stories of Change and Success. And you are very successful in what you do and you help people to change. Now is time for your last thoughts to the audience, please.
Oh, thank you so much. One thought as I was going through my life, I was like, God, what do you want me to do? Because there was so many things to do, whether it's with our business, children, chores at home, church life, helping friends, wanting to serve in so many areas. I was like, what is my work as a believer? And that's when he brought me to the verses in the gospel about the disciples asking Jesus, what is it for us to do the will of God? And Jesus replied, it is to believe on the one that I sent. And if we break that down, the one that he sent was Jesus, okay? And Jesus is the word. So it's believing the word, that's our work. Also, he sent the Holy Spirit. And so it's walking with believing the Holy Spirit and just taking those steps. Sometimes we feel obligated here. We feel like we have to do this there. But what if our work is believing the word, it's simplified, walk in the word, and God will lead you. Like you'll start knowing, okay, God is leading me to do this, to help this person, or whatever the situation. But that was a huge eye opener for me, because we can get so like, God, there's so many good things out here. What do you want me to do? But if we start with believing and walking in the word that way, it changes everything.
Oh, thank you so much for sharing. This was a great message to our audience. I'm so grateful that you said yes to our interview. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you so much, Carolyn. I really enjoyed it and appreciated it. So God
Thank
bless you.
you too, and see you in the next episode.